right, so we're going into what's up in Minnesota. So this is July 12th, 2025. Our date range for this time is June 14th, so the date of our last meeting through yesterday. So again, I'm going to give you updates on cases that I showed you before that weren't closed, that are now closed, and the new cases that you haven't seen yet. There's only one update and 4 new cases, so but you get to see all of it. So let's just jump right in. So our updates, case number 142425. So that was the one where took place. It was a sphere scene in Maple Grove, and it was Preston Matkey was originally assigned to the case. We transferred it over to Anna Scott. So Anna Scott completed this one. It is this is the picture that we had with it. So this is the picture that we had with the case. It is now completed. Completed as disposition IFO. IFO is identified flying object, and man-made object, I think that's pretty clear. So we've identified what it is. We know it's a man-made object. So Anna writes, I was unable to interview this witness. There was time set up 2 times for phone interviews per witness, preferred date and time. No answer when the investigator called, no return calls. So the witness lists dates as approximate, but the time is correct. If the date is correct, the ISS, or International Space Station, was most certainly what the witness saw. Sighting was about 15 minutes after nautical twilight. The ISS could be viewed from his location, rising in the west-northwest and entering shadow in the east-southeast at the exact time witness states. Although the witness states light was observed moving from the northwest to southeast, I consider this insignificant. Additional light seen afterward, likely satellites, as numerous satellites were visible pending ambient light location. So case disposition, IFO, object, International Space Station. She emailed the findings to the witness on 7/8/2025 at 1726. So that was Anna Scott. So thank you, Anna, for your work on that case. We certainly appreciate it. And that's all for our updates. So now let's have to get into the new cases. Let's look at our new cases. New cases, like I said, so we've got 4 new cases that came in. And we've got, so the date range again was June 14th through yesterday, but the date range of the sightings were March 17th of this year through July 7th of this year. And now sometimes for you new people, sometimes the date range of sightings, sometimes we go back 20, 30, 40, 50 years or more because we get old cases coming in. So it just so happens that all these are relatively current. We had 0 cases of interest. So a case of interest is when someone submits a report to MUFON, it goes to MUFON headquarters first. They take a look at it, and then they go, okay, what chapter does it go to? Then they put it out to the chapters, and they add some other information to it. And when they see a case and they go, this might actually be something, this is an important one because it looks like it might be something legit, they mark it as a case of interest. We make sure to take a real good look at that one. Didn't have any of those this time. ERT cases were 0. ERT stands for Experiencer Resource Team. So that's where they may not have seen a craft, they may not have seen an entity, or they might have, but they have a feeling that something odd is going on. So they've contacted MUFON, and we have an ERT questionnaire. So they can fill out the questionnaire. So they might be looking for a hypnotherapist. They might be looking for a counselor. They might be looking for a meteorologist. They might be looking for some help, some resources. It's a resource team for the experiencers to help them understand what's going on with them. We didn't have any of those. And when we get those cases, I really can't show you anything about them because we have anonymity with our cases, but the ERT cases get a higher level of anonymity. So, but we don't have any of those this time. So, but the cases we got this month, we had 1 circle reported, 1 cigar reported, and 2 spheres. So that's kind of cool. We got some different shapes. And this is interesting too because our valet classifications, we got a AN1, a CE1, an FB1, and an MA1. So valet classifications, those are the 4 types that we can get, and we've got 1 from each of them. So it's kind of rare that we get 1 case from each category. So what the heck am I talking about? What's a valet classification? What does those letters mean? So valet classifications, you may have heard of Project Blue Book. That was the Air Force's attempt to explain the UFO phenomenon. That's the public thing. The private, they just want to debunk everything that we told them. Is kind of what's going on there. And what they did was they took in a private researcher to kind of head up the organization, a physicist named J. Allen Hynek. So J. Allen Hynek led it up. And of course, when you start gathering scientific information, what you do is you start categorizing it. These are in common. These have things in common. These have things in common. And his assistant, his name was Jacques Vallée. So as he and Jacques Vallée were putting these things into categories, these are the 4 different categories they came up with, the types of reportings that we're having. The first one, AN. So AN1. So all those categories have all the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is an AN1. So AN stands for anomaly. So we have 1 case that's an anomaly of the first kind. MUFON defines an anomaly of the first kind as anomalies that do not have lasting physical effects, such as amorphous lights or unexplained explosions. That'd be an example of an anomaly of the first kind. Next one, CE. I bet everybody knows what a CE is. You've probably heard of the CE is because you've probably heard of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So you've already heard of a valet classification. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that's a valet classification. So we had one close encounter of the first kind come in. So close encounter of the first kind is, it's a class of objects seen on the ground or at a short distance to the observer. That's a close encounter of the first kind. So we'll look at one of those today. FB1, we had one FB1 come in. FB stands for flyby. So it's something, their definition of that is simply citing a UFO flying by in the sky. And it's the most common report we get is a flyby of the first kind. So, and of course, the last one, we had one MA1. So MA stands for maneuvers. We have one maneuver of the first kind. MUFON defines that as those UFO observations that involve an object with a discontinuous trajectory. So it could be a drop, a maneuver of some type, or maybe a loop. So it's not just flying straight like a plane would, it's doing something that you wouldn't expect a plane to do. So that's a maneuver of the first kind. So we're gonna see one of each of those today because none of them are ERT cases. So I'm gonna show you all of them. So let's see. Oh, and actually since we did talk about CE3s, and everybody's, I'm assuming anyone not heard of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Anyone not heard of it? I'm gonna tell you what MUFON's definition of a CE3 is. And actually, I'm going to talk a little bit more about CE3s or CE2. So a CE3, Close Encounter of the Third Kind, class of close encounters that involve entities or occupants. Of course, if you saw the movie, you saw the entities, you saw the occupants. And I also want to spend a real brief second on too. CE5 is really common. Has anyone heard of CE5s? CE5s? So CE5 is common, close encounter of the fifth kind. And what I want to point out about close encounter of the fifth kind is MUFON has all these classifications for anomalies, close encounters, flybys, and maneuvers. So we've got this history, we created the terms, but you're gonna find other organizations or other groups that have used the term CE5. So their definition of CE5 doesn't always match ours. It's a little bit different. And some, you know, I'll read you ours so you know what our definition is, but I know others have different ones. And there's one group, he goes all the way up to like CE7 or CE9. We don't go any higher than 5. We have levels 1 through 5, but we define a CE5 as encompasses cases of close encounters in which the witness have suffered permanent injuries or other physiological effects, including death. So it can be really, now Stephen Greer has his own definition of CE5. I don't have it with me, but that's where you're intentionally trying to make communication and contact ETs and draw them in. So it's a more a give and take, where a CE5, as we define it, may not be an intentional act, where a CE5 with Stephen Greer is more intentional. I've been to a few CE5 events based on his protocols. It's a very complicated protocol, very interesting. If you get a chance to do a CE5 event, and actually I think they're doing CE5 events out in northern Wisconsin, I think in August, if you're interested in that. I was out, that was where I went and did it. They do like, I don't know, do a full week or a weekend or so, but yeah, it's very cool. If you want to know about that, I can talk to me, I can get you information on that if you want to go out into Wisconsin and meet a group of people doing CE5 stuff, and it's very cool. So out in the Lac de Flambeau area out there, if you know northern Wisconsin at all. So that's our new cases. Let's take a look at them so we can take a break here on time maybe. So case number, let me pull up my cases. Case number 142730-U. So it took place on March 17th of this year at 10 p.m. The shape was a circle. It was an MA1, a maneuver of the first kind. So we saw circle maneuvering. This took place in Elk River. The short description was multiple white orbs ascending straight up and then stopping to appear as stars. So they had a very, very long detailed description. So I'm just going to give you some of the highlights of the detailed description. So I saw a bright light that was flashing like an airplane, and I assumed it was making its way towards me. So I waited to watch what it was, and because it seemed low. As I watched the light, it stopped flashing. Another bright light, but moving upward from the horizon. It ascended directly upward, then suddenly stopped and appeared as a star. It now appeared as 3 bright white lights close together in the middle, forming a small V shape, and 2 flashing red lights off to each side. I watched as it flew directly overhead, still believing it to be an airplane. The red lights flashed, and all lit up a tall tree. For as low as it may have been, as low as 5,000 to 6,000 feet. So Jared Nelson, who's on our line today, and Mark Toffel. Is Mark Toffel online? Is Mark online? He's not here in the room, I don't think so. So Jared investigated that one, and with Mark. And Mark's one of our new field investigators. He's doing a fantastic job from what I've seen. They've completed that one, and this one we have. Do we have pictures? I think we might. I think we have pictures on this. Let's see if we've got pictures on this one. Yes. So you want to hit the lights? Maybe see that a little bit better. So there's 3 pictures on this one, and honestly, you can see, I think there's a star right here in this area. I looked at all 3 pictures, and yeah, there's a star right there, I think. But I wasn't able to pick out what they were describing. But like I always say, if the witnesses have given us information and we're allowed to share it. I want to share it with you. There's the whole thing. MUFON doesn't tell the public. I want to be as transparent with you as possible. I want to give you as much information as I possibly can. So this is one of the pictures we got. This is another one. Again, I think this one has a bunch of stars. I don't know if you can see it, but it was a bunch of stars in here. I don't know what they're referring to though. So, but and another picture again. There's a lot of stars here, lots of stars in here, but not sure what they're referring to. But again, I'm just being transparent. This is the information that we were given. So we completed the investigation on that one, and completed as an unknown UAV. So unknown UAV. UAV is unidentified aerial vehicle. So vehicle is very important because we come up with something else in another one of these cases. But unidentified aerial vehicle. Light configuration does not match for navigation lights. Size is abnormally shaped, abnormally large for a drone. Flying so low, so late at night seems very risky. Flying over a house also seems odd. The way it came to her as if someone seems odd. Could still hear the traffic as it flew over soundlessly. So a lot of things that didn't quite add up to an airplane. So, and Jared's got flight experience. He's a pilot too. So when it comes to airplane stuff, Jared really knows his stuff. He really knows what he's talking about on that. So when he says unidentified unknown UAV, you can really count on that. So thank you, Jared, and thank you, Mark, for your work on that. We certainly appreciate that. And case number 142794-U took place on June 21st of this year at 2:14 a.m. Another sphere. So here's our second sphere. Ballet classification AN1, so an anomaly of the first kind. So we got an anomaly here. This took place in Hibbing. Their short description was light appearing in sky during lightning storm while I was recording. So this is just a segment of what they wrote. But during a severe thunderstorm, I stepped outside to record lightning flashes using an iPhone. I captured over 1 minute of video while reviewing the footage. I noticed a small, solid, bright white light visible in the sky, positioned in an area that was completely cloud covered due to the storm. It was not present in any previous recordings that I had taken, and it appeared only while I was filming during the specific storm. So we've completed that one. Bill McNeff had worked on that one, so give Bill a big round of applause on that. I don't think we have a photograph on this one. I think we go straight to the conclusion. Yeah, so conclusion, Bill, it was completed. Unknown other. Now we had unknown UAV. This is an unknown other, so it's not exactly the same thing. So Bill says, the witness provided perhaps the most thorough documentation of a sighting that he had ever seen. He really did. That detailed description that I showed was like almost nothing. That guy, he detailed everything. It was really impressive. Review of the MP4 video briefly showed an apparently stationary light. A check also showed that no known aircraft were in the area on this night around the time of the sighting. On that basis, he's concluding that it was an unknown object that was present and classified the object as an unknown other. I'm glad Bill's pointing out unknown other as opposed to unknown UAV. UAV means aerial vehicle. So if any structure is visible, it would be a UAV. Unknown other is used in cases reporting a point of light or a ball of light or an orb or something like that. So not a vehicle because we can't see the structure, but it is something else. Vehicle, UAV, other is something that we can't see the structure of the vehicle. So very nice. Give Bill a big round of applause on that one. Thank you, Bill. And now our two newest cases. Case number 142829-U took place on June 20th of this year at 2 a.m. Another sphere. Classification FB1. So this sphere is a flyby of the first kind, just flying by. The city was Aguaching, which I'd never heard of. So I had to look up where Aguaching is. It's in St. Louis County. So Aguaching, and I'm not sure if they put that in as a legitimate city, but that's the city they listed was Aguaching in St. Louis County. This is the exact short description they put into the database. NA, that's all they put in there. And that's the thing. Sometimes we get cases in, they'll put stuff like that. And even in the detailed description, they'll put like NA. Some are very short and very brief that you can't do a lot with. Some are hugely detailed like that other one was. So that's one of the reasons why we interview the witnesses. The witness interview can be so important because it helps fill in the picture, helps flesh it out. So all their short description was NA, but their detailed description, I think this is their full detailed description too, was bright blue round light moving in a straight line across the sky with no sound, joined by a jet fighter aircraft. I heard it. The fighter jet with 3 normal lights in a triangular shape seemed to meet up with the blue light, and then they both disappeared. Definitely unusual sighting. So Jamie Flood, Jamie is one of our newer field investigators. She has just been doing a bang-up job for us. We're so glad to have Jamie on board. It's in progress, so she's working on it. When she concludes this case, I'll show it to you in a future meeting. Once we close it, we'll let you know what Jamie found out about that case. So, and our last case we're going to look at. What's that? The audio's not. Are they not hearing me? You can hear me? Who's mine? I'm fine. Okay, go. So case number 143047-U, and I'll take, I said -U, I've said -U after every case so far. I don't know if MUFON has a term for those, but I call them qualifiers because those are things that they put after the number that kind of give us an indication of what's in the case, because they're not all -U. They could be U for UFO, they could be E for entity, they could be A for abduction, and they could be EQ for experience or questionnaire. So and you can have one or all four of them. So just so happens this month everyone is -U, but that stands for UFO. So it kind of gives us an idea of what to expect in the case. But yeah, there's different things on that. So this sighting took place on July 7th of this year at 7:48 p.m. A cigar-shaped object was seen, valid classification CE1, so close encounter of the first kind, in Coon Rapids, so not that far from here. Their short description was tumbling cigar, lower to ground, changes direction into the clouds. So, and they had a pretty decent long description, so I'm just giving you segments of it. The craft was a rectangular shape with squares on either end or either side, and a red light in the middle that was steady. The craft was tumbling as if it was being pushed by the wind. I thought it was a drone as it was fairly low. It flew through some trees, and I got my phone out to film it, but it didn't come out from behind the trees for some time. When I saw it again, it had changed directions, was flying east-southeast to straight south, and was much higher off the ground and flying further away much faster. In Minnesota, drones are limited to 400 feet. This had to be at least 5,000 to 10,000 feet up. So that just came in recently. We've assigned it to Peter Collins. He hasn't even started it yet because it's still status of assigned. Once he begins the case, it moves from assigned to in progress. So that's how I know it's not started yet, but this has been assigned to Peter. And again, once this case is completed, I'll show you the results of that in a future meeting. So that's what's up in Minnesota. So yeah, that's what's going on. So